Zug the Mishnah. I'm blind. Mitzayir miskir and Mitzayir michlat. So we said yesterday. So there's no difference between the Mitzayir that was confined out of quarantine, out of question, out of suffolk. We don't know yet. We have to revisit him. To a Mitzayir michlat, to a Mitzayir that's michled and decided that he's positive that he's the real Mitzayir. What's the difference? Elu priya iprima. Except that the one that is positive and michled has to let his hair grow and he has to rip his garments. He's an official Mitzayir. I'm by Tur mitoch hezger, the Tur mitoch hechlet. There is no difference between somebody who is Tur, meaning he's crawling out of this akrich charos from them because he was locked up and then it turned out that he's not Tur. The Tur mitoch hechlet, somebody that actually was confirmed Tumah and then he went through then he has to go through the process. What's the chilik? The chilik is he needs shaving and he needs to have the whole procedure with the feigelich and the karbunas. Fine. So that's the Mishnah. So the Gemara is going to try, just like very similar with the Zav Gemara, and this is really the last mission of these two difficult topics. I think after that it's mamash smooth sailing. Basically, the Inyan is Hula Inyan Shliach V'Tima Zev Shuvin. But when it comes, the Gemara is asking Hula Inyan Shliach V'Tima Zev Shuvin, or that basically when it comes to sending the Mitzayre out of the city, or when it comes to the Indian of the timah that we have to be makpid on.
Meaning like a quarantine was like sort of ura miklat, it was like away from the city?
They mamash had to go out of the city. They cannot be in all three machnas. Kahanam, Levi, Mishayim had to be mamash out of the gate. And, God, whatever. One of the reasons that people say that it's like tzaras, like leprosy, because leprosy is a sickness where it was so contagious that for thousands of years, even the goyim, I've read many books where you would show up to a town and by the city there was a bunch of lepers sitting with covered faces, like they were the kicked out outcasts of society in those days, in the olden days. Akapunim. So Zev is Shuvin. Says the Gemara, Menu Hanamila. From where do we know all these things that that a Mitzayah has to let his hair grow, but not somebody that is just in quarantine? That's what the Gemara is going to focus on now. The Tunir of Shmuel by Yitzchak Kamayder of Hinna, we're going to look at a Pusik. The Harei HaKoyin, everything is how the Pusik is written. The Koyin should be matar this person. Why? We're talking about that he's negative. Mispachas he, chibes beguda v'tur. Mispachas means that it is only a skin disease, but not tzaras. That's what Rashi says on the Pusik, meaning it's a superficial, it's not the echte timide tzaras, it's a superficial mispachas. And he has to just wash his clothing and he's tuer. So the Gemara is darshaning, and I think the Gemara is going to move away and say that this is not a true, it's not something we can actually learn from. But right now the Gemara says, what does it mean, the word v'tuer at the end? It means that he is, in the first place, tuer from needing to have shaving and ripped clothing, meaning he doesn't need the whole, whatever a regular Mitzayir needs, this guy does not need. In the first place, we're learning it out of the word v'tur. It says that it's almost like, what's the extra v'tur? The v'tur is tur he mepriya frima the ma'ikura. Ma'ikura means almost like l'mafraya, like retroactively. This guy really needed nothing because, in a way, like we said, he's only a suffix this whole time. He has something on his hand or wherever he has it. Fine. The Gemara is just going to destroy the concept that when it says like v'tuhayr, it means retroactively that he never was tumah at all. Says the Gemara, it says by a zov that he should wash his clothing and then v'tur, and he's tur. You want to tell me there, who's my v'tur my kureke? What could it mean to say that he was like never tumah, that he was retroactively tur? It doesn't shtim because he was a regular zav. Elu, the only thing it means over there, tur he hashte matamek licheres behesed. It means over there that from now on, this person, once he washes his clothing and everything, the zav, he's no longer going to make something tumah through hesed. Now, what's hesed? Some hesed is, there's many ways. Tumah is something that the oilam.
Can we just say it's darkness because it says v'taharu hakoyin or sh'nishtan hakoyin machem to it? The tuer is
right. So that was now when I looked at that pusik, I was like, that's why Itaka looks extra because it already says v'taharu hakoyin. Then it says v'chibas beguda v'tuher. You could have just said v'taharu hakoyin v'spachas hi v'chibas beguda. Right. We already said v'taharu. Right. I'm saying right. So we have to see if that's what it is. I guess, right, the Gemara is looking at the Vitur itself, but I definitely hear that. It's definitely a good question. So when it comes to Tumah Bekitzer, there's many ways to contact it, there's many levels you could be Tumah, and there's many ways to transfer it over. So Mamash is many ways. For example, there's certain Kailim that only if you drop something into the middle, even if something touches the outside, it doesn't become Tumah. Here we're dealing with Hesed. The word Hesed, just so we know the word Hesed is when you make something move, even with a stick or with even two sticks. The bottom line is that thing is moving. I'm using my cup, but that side, that's called Timus Hesed. So it's mamash. The reason why the Timus seems to be so complicated to people is because there's a lot of, once you really get into it, become an expert, it's not difficult, but there's a lot of ways of getting it over, and there's a lot of ways of getting it. But over there, Vitur means that from now on, he's not going to make a klicheres tumah behesed anymore. Hesed is a certain type of stringentness because he's not touching it with his own hands. He's using a object because he made it move. Even let's say he picks up a ramp and then the thing goes rolling down, so he caused it to move. So that thing that he made roll down of this board or this ramp is already going to become tumah. That's hesed. So now this person does not make tumah's hesed anymore. Afal gav dehu dechuzah. So now even if this person, the chiddush is that if the zav, even after the seventh day, we're talking about that now, that he went to the mikvah on the seventh day. So now that even if he sees again another timah after the seventh day, so basically what happens is, so it's interesting, this guy went to mikvah on the seventh clean day. The thing is, he needs to make it through the day without seeing timah. So now what happens is that he does see timah. So it breaks retroactively his mikveh, and he has to count 7 days again. But nonetheless, he's not going to make objects tumah timas hesed. I can put a hochename tur hashtem el tamabila mafraya. So here also the Gemara is asking that he becomes tumah l'mafraya retroactively. So we're introducing a concept of bia. Bia means when somebody goes into a house, he makes everything in the house tumah. So the kitzah here also. So the kitzah, the bottom line, the Gemara is backing away from this pshat of the two higher, and the Gemara is going to introduce another pusik. Elo maruva mayhucha b'hatzeria ashaboy hanega. It says, again, we're looking for a source for tzaraz, that the person that was only locked away mesufik is going to become, is not going to become, doesn't need to shave and do the ripped clothing. But tzariya ashaboy hanega. It says the tzariya means the person who has tzaraz, that the nega is on him. So the question is, why does it say tzariya ashaboy hanega? Why is it? It's a devolution. Tzariya, he's already a person with tzaraz, that the nega's in him. So what it's double. Misha tzarate tliya begiva. We're learning from this, somebody that the tzaras is dependent on his body, meaning to say he's still a tzaras, he's still not to her,
he has himself,
because he has his own, in his body he has something going on. Lafika Lafika, our guy in quarantine only because of doubt. He is not in trouble right now more because of his body. He's just who has to wait out the days. By him, it's not Taliyah Begifoi, it's Taliyah Beyumim. So that's what we're learning out from the Vitzari Asher Boy Haneg. I would say the kid over here is the Asher Boy. That's what the extra word is. The Asher Boy Hanega, it's only a person who's Tomei, who has to rip his clothing and shave, only somebody that it's because it's in his body physically he's Tomei. The question is, there it also says boy, as long as the nega is in him, he's with Toma and he has to live outside of the machna. That's what it says. Only somebody that is Tim is dependent on his body, he needs to be sent out of the machna. Maybe taka, maybe a nochaname. Our mission itself, we learned that there's no difference between a mitzayra that's only locked up out of doubt to a mitzayra that's confirmed. Elu priya prima. Only the only difference is the gabba shaving and kariyah who the inishliach v'timabiyah. But when it comes to being sent out of the machne and the special timah that a mitzayra has of if he walks into a house, everything becomes tumah. We understand from our mishnah that he does have to be sent out of the machne. Bottom line. Meaning, if you're following what's going on, we said that as long as because it says the person vatziriyah boya nega, the boya nega tells us only somebody that's tumah because his body, and not just because he's waiting out the quarantine. But we have another pusik which says kol yemai asher hanega bo yitma, and that's about kicking him out of the machna. And you can't tell me that a person that's in quarantine out of Suffolk, just as we're waiting for his COVID test to clear, he does not have to be sent out of the machna, because he does. Because we learned from our Mishnah, Ein Bain, that there's no difference between these two. The only difference is ripping the clothing and shaving. But even the one that's in doubt, al tzad that he's a mitzayir, he also gets kicked out of the machna. So Mamela, it blows a hole in our point that when it says anei gaboy, it means only somebody that's is in a problem as tzaras only because of his body, but not because of the fact that he just has to wait it out. So that's what the Gemara just asked. Malai yemai kol yemai. So it says when it comes to the pusik of sending him out of the machna, your reason over there that he gets sent out of the machna, really it's not a kasha on us. But it says yemai kol yemai. You could have said yemai asher hanei gaboy. What's the extra kol yemai? L'rabas mitzayir miskir l'shlich. This includes, meaning really asher hanei gaboy is somebody that the neg is on his body, and not because he just has to wait out the week and then he could automatically go back home if nothing gets worse. Really, it's true. We're still good. Why is taka when it says kol yemai asher hanei gaboy yitma? Why does he taka get sent out of the machna, even though it says kol yemai asher hanei gaboy? And we're talking about somebody that just has to wait out the week, because it says an extra kol yemai. And because it says kol yemai, l'rabas mitzayir mizgir l'shlich, it includes. The word kol is extra, and it's just an inclusive word. Some words in the Torah are inclusive. So it's a kol. Everybody's invited. Everybody? Yeah, everybody's invited to the Shulam Zocher. Everybody. Fine. It says, why does this guy not need to be shaved and the beard, and the birds, I'm sorry. The ktuna ein bein tur mitoch heskel, tu mitoch hechlet, elet teglachis v'tzapoyrim. But there's nothing excluding him. 1 second, because l'chayra, this pusik says over there. This pusik, because the taka says, it's specifically excusing because it says kol boy. So tiklachas it's a pura mai tam aloy. So we're not 100% sure. We'll have to get back to it, but let's just try to finish the words. The knuna aim ba knuna aim ba tu mit chesed tu mit chechled elo tiklachas purim. We have a different place why we see that a person that's locked up out of doubt does not need the birds and the ripping the clothing. He doesn't do it. It says the kohen should go out to the end of the machne, and it says, behold, he is healed from the negat tzeras. This means somebody that his tzeras is dependent upon refiyah. So again, it's a similar exclusion, but we have an exclusion. It says, it healed. So again, we have two types of mitzayos. One guy that's the test is pending, and one guy that's already confirmed. So when the pusik says meaning the whole the is the pusik over there mitzayah with the birds and the whole ceremony of the haircut and the shaving and everything, and the pusik puts in words the negat tzaras hat sich ausgeheilt, it healed. So it's Misha Tzarat Titli. A guy that's only waiting for his test to come back negative, he does not need a refiyah. We just don't know. So only such a person that is dependent on refiyah, he's the one that needs to have the shaving and the birds. Very good.